Matt, how does 100-degree heat affect a game, factor into a game when you guys are preparing?
It's the time that we're playing at 3 o'clock. I'm sure it'll drop once it gets to when the sun gets down. But I think early in the game, depth, how well you take care of yourselves, hydration, all that matters. So, you work all year to get 12 games. You'd hate to have the storyline of the game afterwards be like, man, I wasn't ready for it because of the heat. So, I think our guys will be ready. We'll play a lot of guys and try to make it all about football.
When you look at a game like this, does it kind of add a little extra validation to moving that sideline back over to the other side, knowing that you'll get a little bit more shade and know that, Rutgers brought it up this week that they now get to be on the side with the sun. And so you're kind of thinking about that decision. Does it help kind of validate that move?
Yeah, I think in the first game of the year, I knew it was the right, I think I knew it last year was the right move. I mean, there's a reason why everywhere in the country, the home sideline's on the press box side, so that, you're not having to hide yourself from the opponent and people can't see your signals and, all kinds of things. So there's a reason why people do it that way. You don't have the change. We were at Purdue this past week. It was the first time I've had the chains on our side. I kept running into the poor. I must have apologized to the gentleman like 10 times. I kept running into the chain officials because we haven't had that. So, but then the heat's obviously another factor. And I think we recognized that, right away in the first ball game against UTEP because it was hot. And it was another 2:30 game, and it was very clear. So.
Rutgers likes to use those two deep safeties a lot of the time. I mean, what do you think of the way that they use those guys to kind of clean up things on the back end and prevent those big plays?
Yeah, it's a great defense. Coach Schiano, going way back to when he was the defensive coordinator at the University of Miami, and DB coach of the Chicago Bears. I mean, he's known for elite DB play, elite defenses. Those safeties are versatile. They can play quarters, play cover two, and then they can come down and play man when they pressure. They pressure a lot. They blitz a lot. So and they do a great job disguised. They'll utilize them in the run fit. Just really well coached defense with a bunch of really good players.
Stefan and Tommy come along, and with Turner, what's his timetable? You think Corcoran?
Yeah, I don't know Turner's. I think originally it was like a 4 to 6 week injury, but I think so much of that depends on how things are going. So I don't know that I could even say where that would be. I think Stefan will be available to play. I think Tommy believes he'll be available to play. We'll probably get him to the game, and he's practiced all week, so we'll see if he's able to play at the level that he's capable of playing at. And I appreciate both of them, the work they put in to get back on the field.
Saying last night on the radio how Jimari is like the heart and soul of that D-line, and he's fought through some things to even play. How has he impacted guys like what Terrence is talking about, but also just by going and playing through some pain maybe or whatever?
Oh, I mean, he's, I think the biggest thing is, a lot of our guys will play through pain. What happens to a lot of guys in today's day and age where we have PFF grades and all the pressure on the kids, you might be injured. You might not be able to play to the level you're capable of, but you can still play to a winning level. And a lot of guys are afraid to go out and play because they don't want to look bad. They don't want to be criticized. They don't want to be, whatever. And so Jimari cares more about his teammates, cares more about winning than he does anything else. And so even if he's 50% against, Illinois, even if he's 75%, last week, he's still going to go out there and play because he loves to play. He loves his teammates. And I think it's a great message for the team. You play football because you're a football player. You're not because of all the things you can get, And Jimari's a football player.
How's the field goal operation look this week, and just what's been the message to those guys as they prepare?
Yeah, I think it's looked great in practice, but I think the deal is it's one of those deals like we're going to see what it looks like in the game, right? Sometimes you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and you're going through these hard times. And it's a great thing about where I am in my life. I can share with the guys, I went through the hardest time I could have ever imagined in Carolina. And all it was doing at the time, I'm saying, why am I going through this? But it was preparing me for this amazing part of my life here. And the empathy I have for players. And so, that feeling where you have a bad game and you walk in and you almost feel embarrassed to see people. And I'm like, none of that. I'm not doing that. Maybe that's how it was. Because I know what that feels like when you're like, hey, can I even go into the grocery store? Or someone going to say something to me in front of my kids? So I understand that. And so, as I've told John and I've told all those guys, as you're going through this period, this journey, going from, a player with potential to being a player who's potent, you have to go through these things, and parts of you have to die off, and you have to really embrace it. You can't just get through it. You have to embrace it and say, hey, what am I supposed to be learning? And so John Rhule is as talented a field goal kicker as we could ever hope to have here. He just has to go out and do it in the game, and then he needs everyone else to help him. He needs the protection guys to protect. He needs a great snap. He needs a great hold. So how it looks in the game, I don't know, but I believe in him, and I believe that at some point it's all going to come together. I sure hope it's this Saturday, but I do appreciate what he's going through and what Camden's going through, and Buschini was going through a little bit of this last year, all right, and Buschini now he's just a flat dude on the team. He's just he's making plays as a punter and holder and kickoff guy, so they'll get there. It'd be great if it's Saturday.
You have another big recruiting weekend. How have you seen recruits in general respond to you guys, and how you stress development of high school players in the portal era? And also, you're playing a lot of young guys. I would think that is appealing to them.
Yeah, we're going to play whoever we think is the best player, and then we play a lot of guys. So I think that resonates with players. We also don't promise anything. I don't promise a thing, like, other than an opportunity to compete. So I think that excites guys when you turn on Carter Nelson catching a touchdown, or Jacory catching a touchdown, or whomever, Dylan making a big throw, or they see that opportunity. In terms of, I think the games have been great for us. I think we do a really good job of bringing people here in the off season, bringing people here in the spring. Summer official visits were great. Really get the chance to show off Lincoln and the state of Nebraska. Coming to game days, you can't have as much personal interaction, so you have to have done that ahead of time, because this to me is about a personal thing. But I've talked to players that were at some of the biggest games in college football this year, and they still say, like, hey, coming to Colorado was the best experience they've had this year. So credit to our crowd and our game atmosphere, game operations, and everything that we were able to put out such a good product. Was there a second part of your question I didn't answer? Or did
I just seeing those young guys kind of.
Yeah, that's a big deal with it. And then also, as we'll start to put out some pros, we'll get some guys drafted this year. We'll have guys drafted every year, and as guys come in, however they come in, whether they come in as like a 2-star, whether they come as a 5-star, they come in as a walk-on, the mark of a good program is that they reach their potential. If players are reaching their potential, then that's where you should go. You want to go somewhere, if you're a big-time 5-star recruit, you're probably going to be an NFL player no matter where you go. But did you maximize your potential? Are you going for 4th-round money, or are you going for 1st-round money? And getting developed and getting coached, and because of the new era we're in, there's a lot less football coaches and a lot more recruiters, and you need to have football coaches to develop players, and that's the pull. That's what makes the University of Nebraska great. Going back to Coach Devaney, Coach Osborne, all the way through. So we're just trying to do our part to maintain, that tradition.
You talk about development. Is there a position group that you feel like has made maybe some of the biggest strides from training camp to where they are now?
Probably better. In all seriousness, probably a better question for me next week. I'm so micro right now. Like, I'm so like, how in the world are we gonna get off the field on 3rd down? How are we gonna score touchdowns in the red? I think next week's a great time for me. I do a lot of self-reflection. Learned that from Coach Coughlin in the bye weeks. You talk about we always try to go from good to great, or from worst to first, depending on what we were in. It was always about improvement. Right now, it's just been complete and total focus on Rutgers and trying to go 1-0 this week and improve the team this week. Well, what I will say is I think you see a team that has really improved this week and tried to really improve the things that we're not doing well. The number one thing being penalties. I mean, the number one problem with us, like, we're 124 out of 134 teams in penalties. Now, Rutgers is 11th out of 134. And we did a presentation for the guys today. We're giving up a score. I think we've had 55 drives. I think we've given up 6 touchdowns and 10 field goals. I think it's like 18% that people score, maybe 18% score touchdowns. 4 of the 6 touchdown drives were aided by a penalty. So 3 of those were aided by 15-yard penalties, and 2 of the 4 field goal drives were aided by a penalty. So, again, defensive pass interference, those things happen. I'm not here to talk offensive holding. That's part of the game. But pre-snap penalties and 15-yard penalties, they have to be eliminated. Whether we agree with every call, don't agree with any call, the reality is Rutgers is 11th, and we're 124. And so we have to get that corrected. And so that's been a big point of emphasis this week for us, is getting the penalties corrected.
One more. Going back to, you mentioned Buschini and kind of the work he's done this year. I mean, kind of what he went through last year. I mean, how is his presence just kind of helping that group kind of come along? Because he seems like a pretty mature kid, and he's been through it.
Yeah, very, very, very mature player, and I think he takes great ownership of that group. Like, hey, this is my group. But I can get up there and give all the team speeches in the world. There's nothing like older players mentoring younger players and saying, "Hey, I know what you're going through right now. Let me tell you what I went through." It's the most powerful tonic there is for a team. And so, Brian has had these highs and lows, and and he's come out the other side. And so, I think sometimes players think improvement looks like this, but improvement really looks up, down, and your highs become higher and your lows become higher, but you just go up and down, up and down. And so, when they put the pressure of the world on their shoulders to not fail, which we all do, having someone there when they fail, pick them up, like Brian's doing, like Marquise Buford's doing, they're able to bring those young guys along and say, "Hey, I got you." And that's if I do anything well, I'm not the greatest play caller, but we try to foster that environment here of development and growth. And part of development is being there for people in their tough times. And I think we try to be there for him, and now he's there for those guys, and so he'll bring them through the other side. Tristan's going through his injury, Nico's redshirting. They're all going through something different, but having a guy like that, and seeing the way he's playing right now is really, really good. And Rutgers, there's no better team at blocking punts than Rutgers, and so tremendous challenge for Brian this week to try to get the ball off before they get there. All right, thanks, guys.
Good to see you, man.